Welcome to Audacity with PS.
Managing your manager. I know we must have heard that statement a lot, but basically what it means is that having the ability to influence the dynamics between that relationship. You don't have to just go with the tide. You actually have a say in that dynamics, and you can influence things. So when I talk about this, I'm basically saying you can influence that dynamics, and you can influence how the rapport with you and your manager would eventually board to be.
Hello family, good morning to you. I trust you had an amazing past weekend, and I bet you are as excited as I am to get this amazing week started. Welcome to Audacity with PS. I'd love to acknowledge and appreciate my pastor, our apostle, for this amazing privilege to do this with us this morning. Thank you so much, sir. I value you and all you do for us, and I don't take this for granted. So last week, we spent an amazing time learning about managing relationships in career and business. We learned about the PI factor, which is performance, image, exposure, how to rate ourselves, and of course the follow-up review every quarter to ensure that we are upping our performance game in terms of our expertise, skills. We are upping our image game in terms of how people perceive us, how we put our foot into the world, and of course exposure, ensuring that we are top of mind to the people that matter, relevant stakeholders in our industry. And this applies to both career professionals and business owners. So before we get right into the deal for today, please share the link across all your social media platforms, on your status, share personally with friends and family, and let's get everybody right into this. So today we will be talking about hacking fear. Yes, you heard me, hacking fear. To be honest, personal success starts when people realize that they can really hack and master themselves. They can hack and master their emotions to work for their good and for their progress. You really can train and retrain yourself. And to be honest, that's the difference between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. The fixed mindset believes that everything is set. You really can't alter anything. I was born this way. This is the way I am. I can't change anything. Some people are gifted and some other people are just doomed to live a mediocre life. But the growth mindset believes that even innate skills can be improved upon, right? That you can nurture yourself to grow in certain areas. It means that nothing is fixed. You really can improve upon it, right? And that includes our emotions. And today we'll be talking about fear and how to hack it to get us to where we need to be. What is fear? It's so important to talk about fear because people get so crippled. The impact of fear is so real that it cripples people from making a move in life. It cripples people from seeking help, from speaking up and doing the things they genuinely know to do. So it's important to talk about fear. Fear is a strong, exaggerated, negative emotion attached to a sense or awareness of danger, whether that danger is real or perceived. Imagine somebody was standing right beside me and they saw the shadow of what seemed to be a grizzly bear. They haven't seen that bear, but then they see a shadow that looks like it. It's very likely that you're going to start running. Just by seeing a perceived or looking at a perceived danger, right? So that's really what fear is. And because our minds are the seat of creation and imagination, is very critical that we truly master and deal with how to reposition fear, to our advantage. So I'm going to talk about how fear shows up in the lives of most people. Number one, it shows up when sometimes when we think about our future, which means possibilities, what could be, this year we're talking about audacity, making bold moves, us mighty lions are coming, and you're just thinking about what could be, what hasn't yet manifested, and it brings fear to your heart because this is the unknown. This is a possibility, and you're like, okay, this could either happen or it could not happen. And God is showing you big things. God is giving you visions of what could be, of where you should be, of what you should become. And then this triggers fear because it's unknown. It's a possibility. It's either or. It could happen or maybe not happen, right? The second is sometimes when we think about our present, right, it triggers fear in terms of our present circumstances, our current limitations, our current situation. It triggers fear because we can't make sense of what's happening. We're trying to make sense of everything. We're trying to stabilize ourselves in the midst of all that's going on. And sometimes that can trigger fear because we are not where we expect ourselves to be, right? And lastly, fear could also creep up, when we think about the past events, things that has happened in the past. When we think about people that hurt us or situations where we were helpless, we couldn't really do anything. We think about that and then it triggers fear. So it's important to know that fear, like I said, could either be real or perceived. So it means that in the future, there is no tangible thing in the physical to trigger fear in your heart, but just because it's in the future, there is fear. Something in the past that genuinely has no hold over you in the present, we can still have strong emotions attached to it that can cripple, how we do things in the now and the potential for the future. What fear does to you, it makes a person doubtful of themselves, of their capabilities, of their capacities. It convinces people that inaction is safe. You know what? Better not to start that business. Better not to start that idea. Better not to execute. Just stay where you are because you could fail, right? You could fail. Things could go south. People could be disappointed in you. So it convinces you that it's safe to not take action. It also triggers procrastination in people because guess what? You don't have to deal with the things you should be doing. So instead of outrightly telling yourself that you're not going to do it, just tell yourself, I'm going to do it as a future date. And we know that for a lot of people, that future date might never come. Fear also gets people unfulfilled, and a lot of times it even borders around depression because people know genuinely that deep down they are not where they need to be. So people have negative feelings of unfulfillment, of depression, of sadness, because they know they are not delivering value, and putting out their best selves, into the world and delivering their best selves in the space where they have been put in. Fear also keeps people stuck longer than they need to be, right? Because like I said, it keeps people stuck, it keeps people inactive. So it means that they stay longer at a particular level, they stay longer at a particular frame of mind when they should move. Fear convinces people that there is no script for them in this stage play called life, that there is no space for them to shine. Fear convinces people that, some people were made for great things. Some people were made for amazing things, but not me. I've probably just been designated to take the back seat, to be at the backside while other people are running the show. Fear also cheats the world of, people's awesomeness, right? So it means that the amazing gift, the uniqueness that a person carries, they cheat the world, off of that just because they are crippled by fear. So I'm going to move on to how to deal with fear. The first is to reposition fear. Think of fear as an emotion. It's just an emotion. It's your body taking in stimuli and your body responding, to that stimuli that has been taken in, via the input channel. Maybe you saw something with your eyes, you heard something with your ears, or you started a thought process and then it triggers an emotion, right? The fact that you feel fear does not mean that you have a bad idea, right? Your brain is just doing its work of self-preservation, and that's a good work. That's a very good work, because if the brain did not have a self-preservation mode, it means that people would not have an internal warning when they are doing dangerous things. It means that everybody will get to the top of a cliff and there will be a high tendency that they will fall off that cliff. It means that people would not have restraints when they're about to make life-altering or life and death decisions that could snuff them out in a minute. So it's good, right? In primitive times, this was very, very helpful, because it meant that, in the hunter-gatherer days, it meant that people, when they saw any sign of danger, they just go into hiding. And that's why the human race has persisted this long, because some people self-preserved, and then generation upon generation, and now we have, the human race that has perpetuated the earth. However, the brain has not evolved to realize that, look, when it comes to decisions or taking certain action, it's not really a threat to my life, right? The brain is just concerned with less self-preserve. So the brain can't differentiate between, when you start a business, the worst that would happen is that you fail at the business and you have an opportunity to start again. The brain can't differentiate between that versus, there is a bear looking at you face to face and about to eat you up. As long as the brain is concerned, this is a danger, we need to shut down, we need to trigger the flight or fight mode. So that's why it's very important that we reposition fear, right? Because once it's the unknown, the brain gets into that mode and you feel fearful. So don't associate fear with the fact that you are making a bad decision. Reposition it and tell yourself, my brain is just doing its work. And my brain is not, this particular function is not going to cripple me from doing what I need to do. Stepping into the year, I'm sure you had big, hairy, audacious goals that, you said you were going to go after. And just as you were writing and thinking about it, I can imagine that your heart was beating so fast, your blood was pumping faster. That's your body, responding, to that stimuli, because it's huge. You've never done it before. And it might not even be that huge, relatively, but you're about to do something new, right? And you are getting all of that emotion. Don't shut down, right? Reposition it. Tell yourself, my brain is just doing its work of self-preservation. We are safe. Nobody is dying. Nobody is getting mauled. Nobody is getting into trouble. I'm just doing something new, and I'm doing something outside of my comfort zone. The second thing to do is to override fear with action. How do you override fear? Do the exact opposite of what fear has caused you to do. Remember, I said fear triggers in action, right? So when you act, then you are doing the opposite of it and you override that fear. It means that you move towards that thing you are scared of, or that thing that is triggering fear, because it's the uncommon thing to do. Remember, when you sense fear, you either fight or the flight or fight is triggered, right? But you do the uncommon thing, you override that. You override that and you go towards what you know you should do, right? So it means that when you feel the fear, do what you need to do anyway. Do what you need to do anyway. Imagine that right when you are worried, you are overthinking, but you actually get your body to do what it needs to do. Because God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. So it means that we can get our bodies moving by the strength and power that we have in Jesus to do the things we need to do, the things that God has committed to us, regardless of how we feel, right? I don't know if somebody here wakes up in the morning not feeling the need to brush their teeth, but they brush because they know it's going to be a disaster if they go out into the world that way. they brush regardless of how they feel. This applies to the big important things in our lives. You get moving regardless of how you feel, because you override the fear by action. Get moving on the things God has told you. And remember that as men have the capacity to create reality as we see it. So if you stay inactive, you miss out on the chance to create something in the world. The things we see all around us, it was because somebody took the step to create. So it means nothing happens, nothing exists, outside of the fact that a man actually got up and got things moving, right? And started creating. So your decisions are your way of leaving your imprint in the sands of time. Your actions are a way of leaving your imprint in the sands of time. So get moving. Don't be in action. Don't live perpetually in the design and creation of other men, right? So get moving, override that fear with action. The third is to set realistic goals. Sometimes we have lofty goals. Imagine that you have challenges with self-discipline. And you're like, you know what? This month of April, I'm going to get serious with my life. And guess what? You create 10 goals for yourself. You have successfully set yourself up to fail, right? Because this is not something you are used to. Imagine that you just want to start paying attention to your physical health and well-being. For Christ's sake, you have not built the stamina to do certain things, to lift certain weight. So it's understandable that you start small and begin to build up from there. The first day you get to the gym, you run the treadmill 5 minutes, you're already panting. Do you have the potential and capacity to do 30 minutes non-stop on the treadmill? Yes, but you've not developed that stamina to get it done. So it means set realistic goals. Set yourself up for small wins. When you win consistently, it triggers, feel-good hormones in your mind. You are encouraged to get moving. You want to leverage momentum. You want momentum to be on your side. Imagine you start doing something new, and at every point, just as you are starting you keep failing, it's very discouraging. And that's why for every new venture, you would most likely see beginner's level, you will see intermediate, and then you will see experienced. So that's why you realize that every venture, sport, activity, and even discipline has the beginner level, intermediate, and of course the experienced or expert level. Because it's very important that you pace yourself. It's very important that you give yourself the opportunity to have small wins, because the more small wins you have, the more encouraged you are. Perpetual failure, to be honest, it's not encouraging for the mind, right? So set yourself up for small wins. It's okay. Set one goal for yourself. Get it done. You give yourself the opportunity to celebrate that win, and of course you are encouraged to go for more the following month, and then you up it from there. But starting from 0 to 10 goals, you set yourself up for failure, and that can be discouraging. And of course, set smart goals that are specific, that are measurable, that are achievable, that are realistic, and that are timely, that are time bound, right? So it's very important that you set those kind of realistic goals for yourself, so that you leverage small wins to drive momentum. The fourth is to look for opportunities for adventure. This is so critical. The only time that people expose themselves to new things are when they want to make life-altering decisions, right? And this is unhealthy, right? You need to organize yourself in a way that you are constantly exposing yourself, your body, your mind to new things, so that when the actual important things of life eat you, your body is trained and knows what to do, knows how to react. That, look, body, despite the fear, we are going to act anyway. So it means perhaps you need to start a new sport. Do something that is new to you. Do something that is novel to you. Maybe pick up a new skill, start doing something different. Just do something different so that your body gets okay and your mind gets comfortable with encountering new things. So imagine that the last big thing that you exposed yourself to was when you wanted to switch careers. That's huge and tough, and I'm sure it can be scary for a lot of people. Maybe the next big decision you are about to make is in the next 2 years, and it's, should I relocate? And you have questions, and sometimes it slows people's decision-making process because your system, your mind has not been trained to consistently encounter this kind of thing. So there's a tendency for people to shut down, to procrastinate, to not make timely decisions and all of that. But ensure that at least every month, every quarter, you are exposing yourself to new things, new information, new activities, right? Allow yourself to learn something new so that your mind begins to get comfortable and realize that, look, we are learning something new. There's no danger here. Any fear we are sensing is based on a perceived danger. There's no real danger. We're just doing something different. It could even be hitting the gym, as simple as that. That's new. That's you subjecting your body to new demands and new regimen and all of that. It could be trying a new meal, right? It could be traveling to a new place because your mind takes in newness and says, okay, you know what? We are being exposed to newness. We don't have to be afraid. And even if we're fearful, we're going to do it anyway. So when you mix newness with fun a lot of the time, it lowers your defenses so that when the actual big things happen, God shows you a vision. There's something new that is starting. There's a life-altering decision you need to make. Your defenses have been trained, right, to be able to embrace newness better. Lastly, take it easy on yourself, right? Success really is that you keep going versus perfection, because when you keep going, you will keep improving. Nobody attains perfection because the idea of perfection means that there is nothing left to improve, which is a lie, right? So keep going. Don't be discouraged. If you fall, you can get up back. Think of children. When children are learning to walk, they are not beating themselves up because they failed the first time. It's normal. They've never walked in, all their life. They've just been born a couple of months before. So they are attempting to walk. They have to fall. They must fall. I mean, imagine you see a child who is a couple of months old and they got it the first time. I'm telling you, I will be extremely worried about that, right? So in this process of hacking fear, take it easy on yourself and remember what I said about small wins. Just take it one moment at a time, and trust me, your capacity to take on more, your capacity to do big, airy, audacious things will improve, because it's the person who packs out a hall of 50 people who can attempt, and be confident about and have high faith, because it's the person who allows themselves to win in a small way. For example, having 50 people or delivering value to 50 people who can believe to deliver value for 100 people and can believe to pack out a 5,000 capacity hall. So you start from there, but imagine that you keep visualizing and fascinating about the idea of a 50,000 capacity hall, but you don't allow yourself start from the basics. Or perhaps you attempted to deliver value to 50 people and only 3 people showed up. That's progress. Keep going, keep going, keep going. That's it. So this is how we hack fear, by repositioning it, understanding it for what it is. It's just a basic physiological reaction that's happening right there, and that should not determine your life, right? Our lives must be by design, right? It can't afford to be by nature. It has to be by design, right? Which means by intentionality, by truly believing that what God's word has said concerning us, is what will stand. Remember, just like scripture says, that the things that we see today are temporal. That which we do not see are eternal. So it means this material realm, the things we see today as they are very malleable. It is very malleable. It can be altered. It can be changed in one moment. But the things which we do not see, faith, the word of God, the visions God gives us, these are the things that are eternal, that last, and they must superimpose our natural reality, right? So we reposition fear and look at it for what it truly is. We override fear with action. We set realistic goals. We look for opportunities for adventure so that our bodies, our minds get okay and more comfortable with fear. And lastly, we take it easy with ourselves, right? Life is a marathon, not a sprint. We want to go far, right? We want to go far. We want to go far. The journey is still ahead. A lot of us are young people. We still have decades ahead of us. So we want to go far. So we need to get moving so that we increase the odds, that we get to our destination as fast as possible. So this is an exercise that I have for us just as we round up today's session. I want you to list out what triggers fear when you think about your past, your present, and your future. Sometimes we have thoughts hovering all around in our mind, and when we don't articulate it, it's challenging to sort through it. So list it out, write it out, articulate it, and you realize that as words flow through your fingertips into the pen and onto your journal, you realize that it all of a sudden becomes small, right? You are able to see it for what it is. Sometimes you're able to see the narratives and the stories you tell yourself, right? It also helps that you speak to someone you trust, because when you do that, it also loses the grip, of that fear. And like I said, helps you look at the narrative you tell yourself, the story you tell yourself. When I'm telling this story, am I telling this story from a victim mindset? Am I telling this story from somebody who was helpless? Or am I telling this story as somebody that this happened to, but I can recreate my story by the power of God and by the word that God has spoken over me? So it matters a lot that we list these things out. What triggers fear? What are you truly scared of concerning what God has told you? What really scares you? God has told you that you are going to do certain things. What really scares you about it? Do you feel you are inadequate for it? Do you feel like you don't have the funding for it? Do you feel like nobody is going to hear you? Do you feel like you don't have the right relationships? When you articulate this down, then you can address what exactly triggers fear on that matter. So when you do this, it helps you to now begin to do the opposite of what fear has triggered you to do, which means that you act, you speak, you move, you forgive, and you love, depending on what the situation is. So it means fear has caused you to be locked into yourself. Fear has caused you to be highly suspicious of certain relationships. And I know you may tell yourself consciously that, you know what, I don't want to be hurt. I'm an expert at cutting people off. I don't want to deal with people's drama. But really, fear has taught you to hold back. Fear has taught you to not give all of yourself in certain relationships. Fear has taught you to not explore the depths that relationships can bear. And I'm not talking romantic relationship. I'm talking valuable relationships that can produce immense experiences, riches, and really amazing things in our lives if we allow ourselves to explore that. So explore that and do the opposite of what fear would, previously trigger you to do. Act, speak, move, forgive, and love. And that will be about it for this session. Remember, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. Now we are going to take the creed to round up today's episode of Audacity with PS. At the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, go. As sure as God helps me, I will not give up. I will not cave in. I will not quit. I will not fail. I will not fear. I will not die.
until my job is done and victory is won. I am the new and I love this church. Have a blessed week ahead. See you.